Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Joe Show, the number one Kentucky high school basketball podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Decker. I want to thank everybody for the recent support and the shares on our newest post for our show tonight. I wanted to make sure to get it out to you all. Wanted a good show in the middle of the week that could get some people excited here on this Tuesday night. We'll have shows this Thursday. Then we're looking to get one planned with newly Scott County head coach Sean Woods this Sunday night. So we're going to try to get everything set up. We're going to try to have episodes for you all every single day. This Thursday, we'll be joined by Alex Smith, Ohio State commit for Midwest Basketball Club. So that'll be a big-time show. Getting things worked out with Cole Leland. So we're getting these shows kind of worked out and scheduled, and that'll be big time for us. Once again, I want to thank everybody who's tuning in here early today. Our guests are Montreal Irvin, head coach at Greene County, and then Gavin Lightning, Victory Rock Prep basketball player, formerly at Bowling Green, who's making a big-time name for himself in AAU, holds multiple D1 offers, playing with Midwest Basketball Club. So it's going to be a big-time show today. And I'm really excited for it, making sure we get everything shared on social media so everybody can see it and we can get everybody in here. In just a second, we're going to be thanking our sponsors. Once again, thank you to all our sponsors who make everything we do possible, the travel, the promoting, the marketing, just every single bit of it's not possible without you guys. So I really appreciate that. Sorry if it's a little late for some of those in Eastern time. I had people tell me that sometimes starting at 8 o'clock is a little too late, but man, I think it's the best time we found. It's pretty consistent. But let's go ahead and talk about our sponsors real quick. First off, I want to start out with our show sponsor. That's Brian Detman with Detman Injury Lawyer in Louisville, Kentucky. He is the number one lawyer in Kentucky. He does everything from a slip to a fall to a car wreck to a little bit. Really, he'll do everything, like I said, and that's what makes him so special. Our behind-the-scene guys who works everything with the tech is Ronald Scott Lindsay up here in Edmonson County, Kentucky. And then our other guys are Roy Gravel and Gravel Funeral Home, Clark Agritech Applicators and Cooper Clark, B Spring Auto Body, that's Arlen Blanton in Sweden, Kentucky. Then we got Tent Studios, Henry Mendez in Bowling Green, Kentucky, CNA Plumbing in the 3rd and 4th region, located in Brownsville, Kentucky. Laser It, that's Caleb Skaggs, our guy, located in Edmonton County, Kentucky. Then 270 Rentals in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That's Jacob Howard and his guys. A little more information and deep dives on all of our sponsors is on our social media pages. Especially our Facebook, we kind of go into a paragraph or two details about what these guys do, what makes them so special. 270 with their tents and their rentals and way they put together events. Laser with their engraving and how they do clothing. CNA Plumbing is the best local plumbing. And Adam Coates, Tent Studios, this guy will tent $1 million house, and then the next week he'll tent any car you need. So his work's a lot of fun. B Spring Auto Body is nice. They're clean. They're respectful. They get work done. They do it at great quality, great prices in B Spring, Kentucky. Clark Agritech is one of the most interesting sponsors we've ever had. I say it every time. The work he does with drones and the way he helps hunters, the way he helps farmers, the way he does all this work with his drone is so cool. That's Cooper Clark. Make sure to check him out. Then Gravel Funeral Home has been one of our longest time sponsors since about day one. That's Gravel Funeral Home and Roy Gravel, WKU super fan, I like to call him, in Brownsville, Kentucky. So I want to thank all of our sponsors today for making this show so special, making everything we do for each 5 weeks so special. Remember, if you ever want to hop onto the sponsor group, contact me through Twitter, Facebook, got my number, link to social medias, and we'd love to make it happen. But tonight our first guest is a Campbellsville alumni, 250 plus win head coach. He's won district championships. He's won region coach of the year. He's made the runner-up games. He's been coaching for, I seen an article that Greene County had posted for 23 years. So he's no newbie. He's been around the game a little bit. We're going to get him on here right now. Let's welcome Coach Montreal Irvin onto the show. Montreal,
man,
what's up, baby?
Glad to be on the show, man. Appreciate you.
Of course, man. It's overdue. I should have had you on here last year. I felt like we had Coach Gilbert on, and then I needed to get you guys on. You guys are a ball of energy. So, but Coach, I want a lot of people to kind of hear from you. We got things, accolades listed at the bottom, but that's not all you've done in your life and your fun career. So kind of do a get to know. Tell us about Montreal Irvin and who you are, Montreal, for those that might not know.
Well, went to school at Teller County High School. I think I'm around the top 10 in scoring there. Graduated in 96, went to Campbellsville University, played under Lou Cunningham my first year, which was there probably 30 plus years. Going into my junior year, Coach Travis Ford, the infamous point guard at UK, played at UK, won a national championship there. He was there 2 of my years there. Then he went on to, I think, Eastern Kentucky. Once I graduated, I was a graduate assistant coach there under Keith Atkins, which is now at Mercer County. He did a lot of great things at Campbell University. Then he went to Life. So he had a good coaching career in college. Now he's doing great things in high school. From there, I went overseas, At Turkey, played in China. Um, that wasn't really my forte there. The food wasn't that good, so I came on back, got into coaching. My first coaching career was at Louisville Western. Uh, there, I was the freshman coach there. Spent 3 or 4 years there. Got a head coaching job at Shawnee High School.
Yep.
There at Shawnee High School, um, ended up winning the district tournament against Louisville Central, which Louisville Central that year went to the finals of the state tournament. Um, that same year was in the went to the finals of the region. Guess who we met? Louisville Central. Again, we just beat them 2 weeks ago in the district. They got their revenge in the region. So, that was the first time Shawnee High School been to the final of the region since 1969, I believe. So that was a good run there. From Shawnee, came closer to home at Marion County High School. Was there for 8 years, won a district title there, made a couple of region appearances there as well. So after 8 years there, I came even closer to home, my alma mater school, Teller County. Spent 5 years there, won district back to back there. Had a great run there, and from there, I just sometimes as a coach, you got to know when it's your time. And I felt like near the end of my 5th year, I just felt like it's my time just to step down and just relax, spend some family time, enjoy myself. So, the plan was, just to take a year off. So, well, that didn't really happen too well. I got with Greene County, talked with them, got on the Greene County staff this year, did the assistant coach role and loved it. I love the assistant coach, love being assistant under Coach Gilbert. Did a great job there. And from there, things just came to when his job came open and, just prayed about it. And, and here I am now, the head coach of Greene County High School, so I'm very enthused, very excited about it and can't wait to see what the future holds.
Well, it's been a fun career so far, I would
Yes.
say, Coach. I feel like you've been a little bit everywhere. You've experienced. I didn't know the
Yeah.
overseas career. That's intriguing. That's
Oh,
something
yeah.
interesting. That's cool. I didn't know that. But Coach, we had mentioned it behind the scenes. We talked about it a little bit. This past season, I don't want to go on the
Hmm.
past too much. I want to talk about the present. But this past season at Greene County
Yeah.
was awesome. Obviously they wanted to see a state appearance. They wanted to go a
Right.
little farther, but it was something I think the Greene County community and the basketball players needed. They needed a deep run in
Right.
the region. They needed to win games. They needed to get their name out there in a
Mhm.
way. And, to a lot of people, you guys were a top 10 team in
Right.
the state. You guys made a lot of noise. And like I said, it was a breath of fresh air. It was relieving for Greene County fans to see success like that again. What do you think was the biggest part to this past year's winning season? What do you think made it just so special? Because you had the guys, but I felt like the community was there. The coaching was on point. Coach
Yeah.
Montrell was the most energetic
Yeah.
assistant coach in the
Right.
state. What just made everything come together and so
Well,
special?
we had one goal all year. Get to Rupp. Like, get to Rupp was our number one thing. In the past, Greene County is not known to be a powerhouse. And we want
Mhm.
that to come back. Just falling short was kind of disappointing with us, but we know that we broke a lot of barriers this year. Just looking at the crowd, like I said, I'm from Teller County, so we play Greene County every year. And just to look at the crowd this year was just amazing. The way they followed,
Mhm.
it just brought back some energy. Not only to the school but also to the community, and just to see
Yeah.
everybody just embrace and cherish that. I think it really boosted up our playing, our players. I think even coaching wise, it made us sharper. Just to know that, man, we got a lot of people that's pinning on us. So, we just trying to carry the weight of just everything, far as just trying to win and just making the community proud, making the school proud. So, and all that, I think we did a good job. Like I said, we hate not to went farther, but we're very proud of what we did and very proud of our kids.
Well, Coach, you've been around a few spots. You talked about Shawnee, you talked about Taylor County, other previous high school jobs. But this Greene County one, while yes, you spent a recent season here, this
Mhm.
past season, like we talked about, What makes this job different? What makes this one special to you, and maybe holds a special, place in your heart, getting to be
Mhm.
here and getting this
Man,
job?
one thing I like is this the school system. The
Mm,
administration, the people at the top. They really believed in the coaches and what we did. They backed us up in everything we did. Um, just whatever we did, it wasn't a question at hand. They
yeah,
they let us do what we do. They got out the way. When you hire a coach or any type of staff, you're there for a reason. They trust you, they believe in you, and whatever we did, they backed us. And I think that's one of the key of being successful, knowing that you got your the administration to have your back, the community is behind you 100%. So that makes you go the extra effort, just knowing that you appreciate it, and that just goes a long ways in the coaching. Just know that the administration got your back, the community's got your back, the schools got your back, and man, it just makes everything. It makes you feel appreciated. When you feel appreciated, you always go the extra mile. And I think that's one thing that
mm,
really excited me about Greene County is, man, when you pull into the parking lot, it's already packed. The girls' game. You come in
yeah,
there, it's
yeah.
jam packed. You got to park way away in the girls' game. So this is the first time I really been in an atmosphere where it was jam packed and the town really, really loved their sports.
Well, coach, it's the off season, so things are always happening. Guys are graduating, guys are leaving, everything's mixed up in a way. And I know you guys have maybe probably been able to have
Mhm.
meetings, talk to the players, address you taking the new role. How's it been so far, man? How has it been? Can you tell us about some of the guys who will be on the team this year and that return? And then can you tell us how they kind of accepted you as the head coach?
It's been awesome. We had a team meeting, of course. We got some good key players coming back. You got Eric James coming back. Should be one of the top players in the
Yeah,
fifth region. Moody, of course, he's going to get better and better each year. That we have him. You have some players that we didn't get to see a lot of minutes because I think we were so stacked. Our first seven
yeah,
guys. So we're gonna have some new players that's gonna step in the roles. As far as Deacon James, he got minimum playing time.
yeah.
He'll be a junior. The kid can really play. Just we were just
Mm,
so stacked that he got minimum playing time. We got a great freshman group that's going to be stepping up this year, coming into play. One is Paxton Bloyd. You're going to see him. He's going to be one of the best shooters
yeah,
that's out there. Just giving him a little bit of experience is going to be really for him. You also have some kids from last year that's coming up and playing, which we're very excited about. Um, they played probably freshman year, but didn't really come out last year. So we're really
yeah.
excited about them coming and joining the squad. Um, just today, I think we had 25, 26 kids in the locker room, just ready
Yeah.
to play, get ready. So very excited about that. Very excited about our eighth grade group that'll be freshmen next year. We got a really good team as far as eighth grade. They won the conference last year, so their
Okay.
expectation is really high. So you add a couple of those guys together, and I think we're gonna be right back, kind of where we are. We may fall off a little bit, but as far as intensity playing, energy playing, we're gonna be right back to where we left off at.
No, well, Coach, I agree with you 100%. Talking about there being kids in the locker room already ready
Mhm.
for this season, and we're still 5 or 6 months away is, incredible, especially seeing that many
Yeah.
numbers through JV, freshman,
Mhm.
varsity. The program's really in a bright
Right.
direction, and it's really in a good spot. So it's great to see that. Coach, you had talked about, coaching in other regions. We're kind of talking about the coaching here and being in the sixth, the seventh, things like that. Now being in the fifth, you've spent a lot of time in the
Mhm.
fifth. I've always been one to really push and back the fifth region. I think this past season it
Right.
was great. And I think it's always been underrated in a way. E-Town dominated
Yes.
for a long time. Taylor County in the mid
Mhm.
2010s. So there's always been fifth region dominance at times, and those teams being
Yeah.
great. And,
Yeah.
sucks, you can only send one
Right.
team, and there's probably 3 or 4 teams that could
Definitely.
have made runs. So what do you think makes the fifth region so special? You know it better than
Right.
almost anybody, being able to
Mhm.
coach in it and things like that. So what makes this region so special and different from the other regions
Right.
you've coached?
Fifth region is just the love of basketball. A lot of
Mhm.
kids growing up, they see the kids before them play, you have some great players that played before them, and as a little kid, you always want to mimic, like the great players. So seeing somebody that's a little older that you want to mimic, so you're in the backyard, you that person back there, you playing against them. So, I think basketball is really concentrated, in the fifth region, where sixth region, you got other sports that's big. Football's real big, and in other regions, but basketball, I think, is the main thing that a lot of kids now focus on. So that's why I think the fifth region is one of the best regions that's out there as far as talent wise. A lot of point guards is coming out of the fifth region, and I think that's just inherited from year to year to year. So just a lot of people's mentors that's older, and they want to be them. And I think when they get older in high school, that's when I think the fifth region is where it's at now.
For sure, coach. Coach, one other thing I want to
Mhm.
talk about. You kind of talked about playing
Mhm.
overseas. You've kind of talked about, having a guy like Hayden Blakeman who gets to go to
Yeah,
Campbellsville and will have a big career coaching against these guys. There's a lot of kids in the fifth region right now going on to play at the
yeah,
college level. You've been coaching, you said you've coached
yep,
at the college level, you've played at the
yeah.
college level, so you know what it takes. What do you think made a guy like Hayden Blakeman so special, and why is he getting that opportunity to play at the next
A
level?
guy like Hayden, he's very dedicated to his craft, and to just basketball, being in the gym. I think all of our seniors, man, just being in the gym every day. Hayden was a gym rat. Jayden Marr was a gym rat. Tanner Willis, gym rat. Um, they just in the gym at all times. We practice
Yeah,
2 hours. They go home. They eat. They asking to open up the gym. Another 2 hours to shoot. I'm like,
yeah,
man, we in the gym more than I am at home. So and that's not a
yeah.
bad thing at all. That's just the dedication they had to the sport of basketball. But just like I said, one thing about Green County, especially, there's not too much to do. But hey, they get in that gym, they get on that field, on the baseball field, and they really work on their craft. Like they take it very seriously. And when they get in there, it's not just shooting around. It's game shots. It's going hard. It's sweating. It's getting tired. And I think that's one thing that we can show them how to make their game transfer into a college game. So our practices is like a college practices, so they're gonna be used to all that stuff once they translate their game to a college game, or the practice. So I think that's gonna be very helpful for him, as well as he goes to Kansas University. He's already gonna be prompt and ready for that, and so I think the transition is gonna be great for him. I can't hear you. Okay,
Muted. I think I was muted for
that's
a
fine.
second, coach. My mic was on. But talking about Hayden, he is obviously so special, but it's not like it's a dying breed of
Right.
college kids. Here comes Eric, here comes Moody having this opportunity to go play at the next level. They're taking their visits, maybe getting some ideas. They still
Yeah.
got time to choose, obviously, but so it's not going to be Green County not knowing what a
Right.
collegiate player is. And I think that's what's so cool. Some of these schools go on
Right.
droughts, they go on these times where they don't get to see a player. Coach, we talked about it a little bit. You mentioned it, going to a girls' game. It's always
Mhm.
loaded. There's always fans in Greene County. But, I want you to elaborate and expand on that
Mhm.
even more. I feel like the fan support and the fan base of Greene County this year was on another level. I was able, fortunately, to go to almost every county last year and experience these teams'
Mhm.
crowds, and it was just always something special about Greene County. I was a little biased because they were
Yeah.
one of my first games of
Right.
the year, but it was just the way they filled the stands, not just as parents, but the older adults were there. The fan sections were
Amen.
packed. What made them so special? What made the crowd so special? And I didn't get to attend every
Mhm.
away game and see, but how was their support? Leaving Greene County and going to another game.
Right. Like I said, I've been to quite a bit of schools where you had the fans, the student sections, and I've been to some places where they packed the gym, but when you walk into a Green County game, I mean, it's jam packed on both sides. The
Yeah,
the visiting team barely have the place to set almost because it's so overflowing from side to side. The student sections, every week they come up with a theme. Not only they come up with a theme, like they practice, they go over the chairs.
Yeah.
It's something remarkable just to see, at a gym at a Green County. We go over to other gyms. We take up our side, and we also take up a little bit of the other side. This is on the away game, which is something that I really never experienced on the away game. And it's just the enthusiasm they had this year, as far as just coming to the game, cheering. They're just not sitting down; they standing up. They got their pom poms, they got their fat heads. So they put a
Yeah.
lot of energy into not only game day but working up to game day. You can tell that they really put a lot of thought. They put a lot of emphasis on, whatever the theme is. The student section is outrageous. They wild, but they're very respectful.
Yeah.
And one thing that I really love about our student sections, every time after a game, if it's home, if it's away, they will clean up after themselves. They sweep,
Yeah.
they do whatever, and it's spot clean after our student section is gone. So that's another thing that I witnessed that is the first time for me. So it's not only about winning. It's about doing the right thing. It's about doing it the right way. And it's just a wonderful thing to see. Once you come to a Green County a game, the atmosphere is unremarkable.
Coach, I don't want to hold you too much longer, but I got two more
Yeah.
questions. One, I'm not going to make you leak your game plan. We're not going to have Coach show his board tonight. But how are we going to see Green County this year? Is there going to be a lot of changes? What's the style of play? How energetic? Coast to coast. How is this team going to play this year? And how are the fans going to be able to enjoy the year?
Well, one thing I like to do is, I like to get up and down, just like most of the coaches do. You gotta see what you have, your makeup of the team, but
Mhm.
you're gonna see a lot of up and down. You're gonna see a lot of defensive schemes. You're gonna see a lot of open offense. You're gonna see a lot of downhill drives. Um, we're just gonna get after we're gonna dive on every ball. You're gonna see a lot of charges. Um, it's gonna be energy. It's gonna be electric. I feel like the way the players are gonna play is the way I coach. I'm real energetic. Sometime over the top, maybe a little bit. You're gonna see me playing a little defense over there on the side. And I say, hey, if I'm playing defense, they better play defense. So but one thing we're gonna do, we're gonna love the kids. We're gonna root for them. We're gonna cheer them on. We're gonna get them on them at time, but they gonna know it's gonna be out of love. And I think that once you show love to a kid, they'll run through a wall, for you. So other than that, we're just gonna get after it, and we're gonna bring the dog out.
Well, Coach, I'm excited. I'm excited to see you playing defense again on
Oh
the
yeah,
sidelines. I'm excited for the weekly pictures, like I
yeah,
talked about, of Coach showing his, energy on the sideline. But more importantly, I'm glad to see Green County stay in a good
right,
spot. Sometimes when a coach leaves, you never know the direction the
definitely.
program's going to go in. But I know they're going to be in a good spot here. Coach, last question for you, man. The Green County community came out tonight. They shared this. They tuned in. They got to watch. I want you to give one big thanks to them, and then we'll have you be able to head off here,
Yeah, first of
Coach.
all, I was on my coaches. I'm gonna say how I couldn't do it without them. Coach Tongue, Coach Edwards, Coach Z, one of the three best. It's out there. Um, these guys put in a lot of work, give a lot of energy, man, and you're only good as your assistant coaches. So that they're gonna put in
Yeah.
a lot of time, and I thank them every day. Just as assistant coach, just the hard work they put in, and and as far as the community, man, I love y'all. Keep coming, keep cheering, and we're gonna keep playing hard for you and making y'all proud.
Coach, I really appreciate having you on. I know this won't be the last time we'll talk this season, maybe even this
Right.
summer. So we'll talk to you again soon in the future, man. But I
Appreciate
appreciate
you.
you
I
coming on. Of course. Talk to you later, Coach. That was Coach Montreal Irvin, the new head coach of Greene County High School. Last year, he was an associate head coach, and this year, he'll be running the helm. I'm excited for it. He's a Campbellsville alumni. He's coached around a lot of places, coaching in Louisville, coaching in the 5th region now. So he's been a lot of places. I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table. They returned a lot of guys. They've lost some, but they return a lot of guys. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But our next guest is Gavin Lightning from Victory Rock Prep, former Bowling Green native. Let's get his graphic pulled up and things rolling. But once again, I want to thank everybody who's tuning in here early today and joining the show and watching us. And let's welcome Gavin onto the show. Gavin, what's up,
Good.
man? How
How are
you
you?
doing? I'm doing good, Gavin. It's like I just seen you 2 to 3 weeks ago running with Midwest, and dude, we got to talk about this Midwest 17U team. Playing EYBL teams, playing 3SSB teams, teams in Puma. You guys have faced all of the top teams on the top circuits. You went 4-0 in Ohio at one of the biggest events at Midwest Mania. Tell me what makes this 17U team so special, Gavin.
The biggest thing with our team is that we just play for each other. We always make, like as you've seen, we always make the extra pass. There's really not that much one-on-one. We just all care for each other, and we're one of those teams where we don't know who it's going to be that goes off for 20, 25, but regardless who it is, we're okay with it, and we just play for each other is the biggest thing.
Well, Gavin, you're back home from Florida, where you spend your time there playing at Victory Rock, and you're kind of back at home getting to settle in a little bit. How's it been, being back home, back in Bowling Green? I know you've been getting some runs in gyms, and, obviously there's a little bit of break in AAU during the week, but have you been, man, back home, back in
It's been good. It's been a good break, a little break. It's good to kind of get back with my dad. It's kind of where it all started, working out with him 2-3 times a day. It just feels good. It's different, change of scenery, a little different than Florida, but it's been good.
Well, there's a lot of people, obviously, who know your path and you taking the prep school route. I'm a big advocate for it. And, some have the opportunity, they don't take it. But, Gavin Lightning did. How have you been since going to Florida? And, tell me about that decision. It's such a hard decision, not one just to go take that level, go to the prep schools, but also move as far as you did. Some people maybe go to one in Indiana, Tennessee, but you kind of had a little bit of a journey going down to Florida. How's it been? And like I kind of told you, tell me a little bit about the process that made you choose that.
It's been good. The main reason I went that route is me and my parents discussed it. It was about just me being comfortable with being uncomfortable. It was kind of, it's far from home. It was going to be hard. It's going to be just like college, a 16, 17-year-old kid moving away. But the whole process was just being about being uncomfortable and getting used to that. And just the development side of it all, getting to play the wing, getting to play against 2 to 3 Division I guys every day in and day out, competing against Division I guys in practice like college. So it's really just all for preparation.
Well, Gavin, the recruiting process hasn't been slow for you. It looks like it's tuned in to be working out so far. You still got a whole nother season to play and finishing out this AAU. You hold 2 D1 offers on the basketball end from Central Arkansas and then Detroit Mercy. You've took multiple visits. You took a few right in your backyard when you're home at Western Kentucky. So you kind of got to take these visits, talk to these coaches. I know Marquette has shown a lot of interest in you and been down multiple times to see you. So tell us about Gavin Lightning's recruiting process and the schools that's talking to him and involved.
It's definitely been a lot of ups and downs. The biggest is Western and Marquette. Hearing from those two, the way they communicate is just great. They make me seem like family. Sometimes they'll call and reach out, and we won't even talk about basketball. It'll be about family stuff, how's school going. Yeah. So, they really make you feel loved. But, it's good. Hoping for it to pick up a little more as we get deeper into the season. But I think it will. It's been interesting. It's been a good process. All the visits are fun, but –
Gavin, the AAU season, obviously isn't over. It's almost like we're probably in week 1 or week 2. If you kind of contributed like an NFL season, it's kind of just getting started. There's a lot more to go. Tell us where we can catch Midwest basketball and what your 3SSB kind of lineup looks like, how you guys are playing. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about one of the other Kentucky guys on your team, and Reese Davidson. I know you and him are good friends, and he's came on the show before. I think you guys are 2 of maybe the only Kentucky kids on that 17U team. So how does that feel?
It feels good. It feels good to be part of something special, and that kind of selected us to be the 2 Kentucky kids. It means a lot. Me and Reese kind of play similar, as you may know, but it's good. And then with our schedule, we're going to be in Omaha this year, LA, Texas. We're playing all the top 10 teams in Adidas this year, so it should be pretty interesting. We're going to come out 10-0 like the past 2 years in session play, but it should be an interesting year.
Last year there was a little bit of a drop-off. I've talked to Andrew, guys around the Midwest scene, and they said last year wasn't as strong as they had wanted. I know at the lower, younger teams, there was teams getting kicked off, things like that, and Midwest was trying to find their identity again this season, and it looks like they have. You've probably had opportunities to play for multiple AAU programs on any circuit, but what makes you choose Midwest, and what makes it so special? Because we got a lot of Kentucky kids who play Midwest, maybe have had the opportunity. I've seen it from, behind the scenes and things, and I love Midwest Basketball Club, but what makes it so special, and why did you choose to stay with them and run?
The biggest thing is it's a family. You know, you're never gonna have to worry about anything. You're always gonna be taken care of. They generally just care about you first before the basketball side of things. You know, that's the biggest. A lot of the, like, when my 8th grade year, when they were talking to me to get me to come play, it was, you know, it's about making you a better man, because at the end of the day, at one point, the basketball is gonna stop bouncing. You're gonna have other things to rely on, and then just the way they play. It's the right way. It's college coaches like it. It's how the game should be played. You know. It's about the team. It's not really ever about individuals. You may know they don't necessarily go out and get the best players all the time. They go get guys that they know mesh well together, and that's what they did this year, and that's why we look so good.
Well, I'm definitely excited, Gavin. I'm excited to see how you guys continue to make things work. You know, it's fun. The offense, you know, how everybody kind of gets along. You know, it's a bigger team. You guys are tall. You know, there's times where you guys have 4, 5, 6, 6 guys out there running in. It's scary. I would never want to run into a guy like Alex Smith or Reese in the paint, even you on the wings. You know, it's a really well put together team. I think it's Cam Elwer is one of the better shooters I think I've seen in person. You know, he's a guy we could have on here, and he could talk for 15 minutes about his game, you know, how he is as a player. And I think that's what makes this team special. You know, we talk about families, bonds, guys, you know, but we have to talk about Bowling Green, Gavin. You know, while you might not be there now, I know you are still very tuned in with them, friends with a lot of the guys, played with them at one point. So, you know, to see them make the 2025 state tournament, being the runner-ups, make this run they did when a lot of people counted them out. You know, how does it feel to see Bowling Green succeeded and some of your guys, you know, being able to play at the best stage in Kentucky and make noise like they did?
I love it. A lot of those guys are like my brothers. Grew up with them, always played with them. They deserved it. They put in the work. You know, even at times they were underestimated, it was good for them. Because, you know, I was around a lot in kind of the preseason stuff. I went to their workouts. I went to their runs and stuff. So I'm just glad that they got the job done, got to rep and surprise people like they should have with the small team that they had. They just worked hard, played really hard, and they got the job done.
I think a lot of times we talk about going to the state tournament and how at the end of the day, there's no records. Everybody's going in there. Anybody can win. And I think they proved it this year. I think Coach DG, a lot of people were down on him and he made a big run. And I think he needed that and it made the program look really good. And I don't think they're going down at all. I think they'll make things work here coming in. I know they get younger. But Gavin, you talked about going the prep way. And you talked about, you know, being uncomfortable, you know, knowing that one day, hey, when I play college, I'm going to have to be far away from home, parents not beside me, playing elite against competition. And you've had to play against things like that. But go into a little more detail about the prep scene. You know, there's kids considering it. There's kids hearing from prep schools. But what's the biggest difference? Tell me a little bit, you know, about the living situation in Florida, how you guys kind of run things there, how the practices are, how the coaching is, you know, traveling for games. You know, just kind of tell me all about what you've done at Victory Rock, you know, in every aspect.
So, I mean, to start with the kind of like the practice side and the workout side, I mean, it's everyday thing. Most in the preseason, we were practice at 5 a.m. to 7, school, extra shots, and we were back again from 7 to 9. And then it's just rinse and repeat 5-6 days a week, you know. And then like the living, you're on your own. In our situation, we live in condos. It's 4 of us. So, I mean, it's like you're an adult. You gotta cook for yourself. You gotta clean. You gotta make sure you're up on time. There's no mommy and daddy coming to wake you up. I mean, and then with the travel, with the grind session, we were leaving on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, flying out, playing 3 or 4 games, coming back, having 2 days of prep, and we were flying out again. But then in the midst of all of that, you got to keep up with your schoolwork. You know, the school that we go to, Edison Academics, it's not one of these schools where it's just you can just do whatever. You got to go in. It's work. Like it's harder than most public high schools. So it's like college. You got to go and you got to do the work. And we have professors too. So like if something's missing, you got to go talk to them. They're not going to reach out to you. So it builds you as a man and it holds you accountable. Prep holds you accountable. You're going to be just as good going prep as much time as you put in. You going isn't magically going to make you better. You got to put the extra time in, just like if you were anywhere else.
For sure, Gavin. And people can hear that and they might be a little nervous. They might be, well, is it for me? But Gavin, you know, through all those things that you've got to do, how it's changed you, what would you say your favorite part of being at a prep school is? You know, kind of take basketball away, because obviously growing as a player, playing the competition, while it can be probably annoying at times, you know, that's probably been your favorite part. But outside of basketball, what's been your favorite part of being at
just building relationships with the guys? There's, I think, 7 guys on our team that are from different countries. Different parts of life. Okay. And it's just good to build those relationships with people, because you never know what other people are coming from. And it's always good to be around different cultures. So when you're in a new place, if you have to go overseas and play, or you have other teammates, you know how to adapt to those things, because some kids don't. They get a culture change and it's it's totally different. Yeah. But learning, just making the connections, because we have new coaches come in, you know, our coach is well connected. So just the connections from prep.
Yeah. Gavin, I've really appreciated having you on tonight, man. You know, we got to talk about all the questions we kind of had read up and wanted to talk about. I tried to ask some other things too. But like I said, your family, the Bowling Green community, I know some of the guys at Victory Rock, I know they tuned in, you know, kind of say a big thanks to them and, you know, shout them out a little bit.
Thank everybody. Thank Coach Jackson. Thank Coach Nick, Coach Andrew, Coach Mergen, especially you, Coach Cups. Appreciate y'all.
Gavin, I appreciate you coming on, man. We'll talk again in the future. I hope to see you probably next weekend. You know, I'm not sure yet where we'll be, but I appreciate you coming on, Gavin. Keep it up and hope to see you soon. Of course. See you, man. That was Gavin Lightning of Victory Rock Prep, former Bowling Green native. Wanted to get him on here tonight and talk a little bit. Been talking to Gavin a lot behind the scenes recently, talking to him about his recruiting process, seeing him in person at AAU. And with him being from Bowling Green, not too far from me, it's always kind of an instant. You guys can kind of click and talk. So I really appreciate Gavin on here, man. Talk to him probably also, you know, talking about the college things probably 3-4 months ago at Western when he was on a visit. That was really cool to see him there. So, you know, he took the prep route. And I think there's a lot of kids in Kentucky, surrounding areas that watch the show that might not be sure on the prep route, might not know how they feel about it. Maybe he addressed some concerns. So I knew that would be something I really wanted to talk about. And I think a lot of people hopefully enjoyed that show. I hope everybody in Gavin's circle, family, players, coaches were able to tune in. Same with Coach Irvin, who we had on earlier. But right now I want to address you all. Thanks, everybody, for the support we've had recently. With AAU and with Next Up Recruits, it's always harder, you know, to get shows on the weekend. So we kind of had to do things on the weekdays and get things ran up. So I think we've done really good. Hopefully we have a show this Thursday. We've been talking with Alex Smith, you know, who plays for Midwest Basketball Club, of course, from Ohio. He's actually signed with Ohio State to play basketball. He's a top 100 kid in the nation. So we're actually talking to him, hoping to get him on here soon. Hopefully Thursday night with Cole Edlin. Cole Edlin, a Wildcat select from Louisville Mail. Talked to Cole a little bit this morning. Hopefully he's able to make it. Then we've been talking to some other guys. Montez Gay, a guy from George Rogers Clark, I'm good friends with behind the scenes, playing with Griffin Elite. Coach Steve Q of Griffin Elite. Love to get those guys on here and talk about their AAU program, what makes them special. Kentuckiana Hoops, I'd love to have them on. We could talk to Cole and Scotty and kind of address them. So we got a lot of guests lined up, a lot of people. We just got to kind of meet schedules, make sure everything works. I want to appreciate once again the fans who make this happen. You know, you never want to get on here and see not a lot of people's tuning in. We've not had to deal with that problem in a long time. We've got a really good support base and support group. So I appreciate everybody tuning into the show. Once again, big thank you to our sponsors. They're listed at the top. 270 Rentals, Laser at CNA Plumbing, Tent Studios, B Spring Auto Body, Clark Agritech, Grable Funeral Home, Detman Law and Injury, and then the guy working the things in the back, the behind-the-scenes guy, Ronald Scott Lindsay. So I appreciate everybody for tuning into the show today. Make sure to share, leave a like, make sure to hit the follow button. Make sure to share so people can tune in after. You know, our shows are live, but they don't go away after. It's kind of like a recording. It'll be on our pages. I appreciate all the recent support. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at JosephDecker23 and follow Next Up Recruits at Next Up Recruits. That will be getting a little closer to 66,000 followers. Love to hit that. Love to hit 70,000 by the end of the summer. Always thanks to Next Up Recruits for sponsoring the show as well. But once again, I want to thank everybody who tuned in and made the show special. Big thanks to Coach Montrell and Gavin Lightning for hopping on tonight. It was a lot of fun. I didn't want to hold him too long on a Tuesday night. I know Gavin's with his family. You know, he's back, so I obviously don't want to hold him too long. Then I know Coach Montrell has a family at home and things to do, so I didn't want to hold him, plus him being an hour ahead of me. So once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show, sharing, supporting. I want to thank our sponsors. Today's show lasts about 40 minutes. Not too long. Thursday, we might go a little longer. Depends on how things work out. But once again, this has been Joseph Decker with The Joe Show, the #1 Kentucky high school basketball podcast. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Tune in this Thursday. Like I said, possibly this Sunday.